Electric cars are gaining popularity. Last year, in 2022, over 750,000 new EVs were sold here in the United States. Yet, despite the growth of EV demand, at least 30 to 34% of Americans won't ever buy an EV. It's not directly because of range anxiety, and it's not necessarily because they don't have money. Today, we're looking at the increasing number of rent-burdened Americans, what's happening with the apartment rental market boom, and why the average renter won't ever buy a battery electric car. We'll finish off by looking at American households who own multiple cars and whether they'll invest in a second or third EV. Right now, some 30 to 34% of Americans rent an apartment. The average age of an American home renter is 39 years old, and almost a third of renters here in the U.S. are younger than 35. The average income of a renter is $42,500 a year. And when it comes to credit score ratings, renters typically have a fair credit score rating, whereas homeowners tend to have an excellent credit score. Another thing that apartment renters have in common is their car. Logic can tell you why most apartment renters have a traditional combustion engine car or standard hybrid car that does not need recharging. Rarely will you see an apartment renter own a full battery electric car. Reason is, most apartment complexes have limited parking stalls as it is. So you'd really think they're going to invest in EV charging ports? So it's actually a huge inconvenience for an apartment renter to get a battery electric car. That's why the thought of getting an EV is nowhere near their radar. The only option for an apartment renter who really wants a BEV is to use a public charging station. Maybe he has one near his place of work, for example. But what will he do if the one charging station he's counting on is busy, or worse yet, broken? This might sound like a nightmarish worst-case scenario, but believe it or not, this has happened to multiple EV owners. Talk about limiting your already limited options. This is yet another reason why buying an EV isn't all that appealing to an apartment renter. Here's another thing about public charging. Last summer in LA, almost 25% of all new vehicle registered were plug-ins. On top of that, Los Angeles estimates that the next 2 decades it will need to expand its distribution capacity somewhere between 25 to 50%. Around 2/3 of the increased demand is coming purely from electric vehicles. Now here's where the problem starts. Public chargers just aren't being built or expanded fast enough to keep up with the increasing EV demand. Nationwide last year in 2022, there were around 120,000 public charging ports featuring level 2 charging or above. But at the same time, there were almost 1.5 million EVs registered in the US. That's around 12 cars per one charger. Of course, not all cars will be flocking to these public charging stations. Remember, some people have at-home chargers, but there's no denying we still don't have enough public chargers for everyone who needs one. There was a briefing prepared for the U.S. Department of Energy last year done by the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. It found that by 2030, there will be around 19 million EVs on our road, and we're going to need at least 9.6 million more charging stations than we currently have to charge them. I don't know about you, but almost 10 million charging stations less than 7 years sounds like a tall order. We don't have sufficient capacity as it is right now. Here's the thing. Americans are all about independence. Our first instinct and preference is comfort. The comfort of having our own home charging port. But that comes at a cost. I'm talking over $1,000. Now, going back to the average American apartment renters, they don't even have that option for home charging. They don't own the building. Even if the apartment management were to miraculously install a station, the renters would still need to share it. I can just imagine the tension between renters trying to fight over first dibs. Or imagine that one oddball who tries to string an extra long extension cord from his front door or balcony to his EV. So you can see that EV makers need to address this problem. They want to tap into this 30 to 34% of the American population. Right now, engineers are trying to find a solution for apartment renters to charge their EVs. Cities across the U.S. are trying to come up with innovative public charging solutions. Let's get back to home charging. Residential outlets are level 1 chargers. They're not very practical unless you don't drive your EV very much or you're okay plugging it overnight. Americans who like instant gratification or need to juice up faster prefer public chargers that are installed with DC fast chargers. DC fast chargers can give an EV all the juice it needs in 45 minutes or less. There's also level 2 charging, which can take several hours to fully charge an EV. Right now across the states, level 2 chargers outnumber DC fast chargers almost 4-1. But what we need is the opposite. Logic says cities should install more of the fast public chargers in order to service more EVs in the same hour. Sounds pretty straightforward. That is until you consider that the cost of a DC fast charging station ranges from $15,000 to $50,000. It depends on the number of charging ports and the brand. When you see that price tag, then you understand why there are fewer DC fast chargers available. One city that's taken public charging into its own creative hands is Los Angeles. LA has already installed over 500 pole-mounted EV chargers. Around 450 of them can be found on street lights and around 50 on power poles. Apparently, LA plans adding 200 more every year. Cities like New York, Charlotte, and Kansas City are also considering similar measures. Other cities across the states plan on amending building codes for electric transition. Like Portland, for example. Portland has a proposal in the works that would require 50% of parking spaces in most new apartment complexes to have an electrical conduit. And for apartment complexes with 6 or less spaces, all of them would need to be EV ready. If you were to take a look across the pond in London, you'll find that the city has over 4,000 public chargers on streetlights. Installing public chargers is a lot cheaper to do on streetlights, instead of wiring a charging station into the sidewalk. But here's the thing. Los Angeles and London have an advantage over other U.S. cities. Their streetlights operate on 240 volts, which is a lot better for EV charging. Most American city streetlights use 120 volts. As you can imagine, 120 volts takes a lot longer to charge an EV than 240 volts. Because of this, most cities have to use a mix of public charging solutions. In 2022, the Biden administration approved plans to roll out a network of high-speed chargers across interstate highways. To do so, the administration approved using $5 billion in federal funding over the next 5 years. That might sound promising, but states have to wait for an extra $2.5 billion in local grants to fill in for charging gaps first. Even if apartment complexes had charging stations on site, there's yet another factor that limits many renters from getting an EV. It'll be summed up in 2 words: rent burden, and this impacts 30% of Americans. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, a rent-burdened family is one that spends more than 30% of their household income on housing costs alone. Many rent-burdened families have difficulty in affording other necessities like food, clothing, transportation, and medical care. Sad thing is, this 30% is the highest we've seen to date. Put that in perspective, last year, some 28.5% of Americans were rent burdened. Compared that to when the housing department first started tracking back in 1999, it was only 22.5% of Americans who were rent burdened back then. So you can see it's been rising. The rent-to-income ratio is calculated by comparing the national median household income, which was $71,720 last year, with the average monthly rent, which was $1,794. Year after year, this percentage has been growing, and it doesn't show signs of stopping anytime soon. Analysts say the U.S. has actually been moving in this upward direction for decades. Since the 1970s, rent has been raising a lot faster than income in general. And when it comes to lower-income households, high rent costs have been the norm for a long time. The pandemic only made this problem worse. If you think back to 2020 and 2021, you might remember how many big cities began offering COVID rent discounts. Low-income families were flocking to areas like New York, Jersey, and Boston because it's now affordable. But then COVID restrictions got better and rents got worse. The places saw the biggest declines in rent costs 2 years ago are now seeing the biggest increases in rent. Just look at New York City, for example. In New York, the rent-to-income ratio in 2022 was a jaw-dropping 68.5%. Miami came in second as 41.6%, then Fort Lauderdale at 36.7%, and Los Angeles at 35.6%. U.S. rent prices have been soaring the past 4 years. Demand for apartments soared during the pandemic because people wanted to work remotely and wanted to relocate. This caused a hike in rent prices. The pandemic also changed the multifamily market in many ways. Families wanted bigger apartments outside the city because more people were working from home. This was a huge shift from before, and the previous trend was a decrease in apartment unit size. And today, there's another phenomenon happening in the rental market. We're seeing a construction boom for rentals. New apartment construction is reaching a historic peak, and multifamily construction is at a 50-year high. Around 1.1 million apartments are currently under construction. Last time the apartment completions passed the 400,000 unit mark was back in 1972. Many anticipate that the increase in supply may give renters some relief and an upper hand. Some economists project that the U.S. rent prices may decrease modestly this year. But here's the truth and real story. The fact is, much of the new apartment construction is happening in a few metro areas. In fact, more than 40% will be concentrated in 10 high-growth metros like Austin, Nashville, Denver, Atlanta, and New York City. So most of America won't really see this surge in apartment inventory. And it's not just that. Many of these new apartment units will be luxury apartments, which isn't something all Americans can afford. So in reality, there will be a little relief and comfort for most U.S. renters. But let's talk about the rest of Americans. I'm talking about the 65 to 70% of Americans who own a house or condominium instead of renting. Now, some 80% of those owned homes have a carport or garage. Of the families who live in those, almost 70% of American households have either 2 or 3 cars. So think of that household for a moment. Let's assume the family has 1 EV and a home charger and the other 1 or 2 extra cars are traditional combustion engine ones. What do you think of the odds they'll exchange their second or third car for an EV and install yet another charger at home? Frankly, I'd say the chances are slim. Believe it or not, statistically speaking, the states with the most cars per household is Wyoming, followed by Idaho, Montana, and South Dakota. Interestingly, most of these states are among the coldest states in the U.S. We all know that cold weather can be a big problem for battery electric cars. But now you tell me, do you rent an apartment or house? And what do you think is needed for apartment renters to adopt EVs? Please share by commenting below. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for your support.